Wow. Wow. Author Lynne, welcome to the
Hey, how
podcast.
are you?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Happy smashing month of December.
I love I love that. Happy smashing month of
Smashing
December
month
to
of December.
go.
Yeah. Wow. It's good to have you on the podcast. The one student, one book, one author mantra. The global reader circle. The ultimate podcast designed to help make a committed reader out of every global person, especially the student. Author Lynne, I'm so honored to have you on this show.
I'm just as honored to be with you, especially as a retired educator. So it's a great what you do is wonderful to ensure that everybody reads.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow. The podcast is designed to help make a reader out of every global person, and I'm so honored because you've been inspiring a whole lot of folks from almost all the globe. So I'd like to ask you, would you like to tell us about yourself?
I would love to tell you about myself. So I am a retired educator from Philadelphia. Before that, I was in retail and a buyer, and my employees were in college and couldn't count back change and didn't read directions. And I thought, uh-oh. So when I became a single mom, I went back to school and I got my master's and my teaching certificate, and I guess the rest is history. So I'm a retired teacher, a teacher coach, a principal of a high
Wow.
school, and then
Wow.
my grandchildren were born in Miami Beach, Florida, and we decided to move part-time to Florida to be with our grandchildren during the school year, part of their school year. And then I live in Vail, Colorado during the summer, where my heart just sings in the mountains. And I had two younger brothers. My baby younger brother was Down syndrome, and that's basically what I wrote the book about. And he was not the love of my life, and I championed him. And he had kidney disease, but really lived his life well. And in 2020, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he died 4 months later. And I realized that he was such a special person and had so much to give. And not many people are good with special needs people, all different special needs people. And I never really, grew up wanting to be an author, but I realized that his story would never be told. And I was afraid that he wouldn't be remembered by family and friends. And so I wrote the autobiography of Listen to Me. And that's basically our lives together until he passed away. And it's a good thing I did, because my other brother, David, so this was Bruce, David passed away a year ago, and fortunately he's going to be remembered in that book as well. So
Wow.
it's a twofold book. It told the story of a family that struggled with a special needs sibling and how we flourished and loved each other and supported each other. It tells of how there are adults that struggle with special needs children. It's frightening when you're an adult and your child is not going to be able to fit in like everybody else is. It's a scary world. And unfortunately, grown-ups, you think that as we get older, we get wiser, but sometimes we don't. So it's for older people, younger people, siblings, male, female, coaches. I've had sports coaches have their wives read this book because, special needs people do play sports. And they look differently, and you can't just, yell at everybody and scream at everybody. Autistic children that can't deal with that, and other people that need to be shown, not told, and there are people that need to be told, not shown. So it has made my heart smile as people have reached out and told me how they feel about the book. And then, long before that book, my children are very funny. My own personal children are very funny people. And then I wrote a children's story many years ago and finally had that published. And that's called My Sister Wants an Elephant. because my
Yeah.
children are crazy about animals, very different kind of animals. And so
Wow.
it's been an amazing experience to be an educator and then retired and tutor and be an author, and life is really good. So I am beyond blessed and full of
Wow.
gratitude. So here I am.
Wow. 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 Your story is so amazing. Awesome.
You.
Wow. 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 I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. Well, it seems you okay, I'm talking about your upbringing right now.
Yeah.
It seems you sort of um had an opportunity to become a lifelong learner right from your cradle.
Oh,
Um
absolutely. My parents were lifelong learners. They that's how we were raised. There's no such you may not go to formal schooling anymore, but if
yeah.
you're not willing to move forward and grow. Listen, my mother was 90 years old and decided, because her grandchildren and children lived all over, that she would go on Facebook because she
Wow.
keep in touch. And I said to her, you really
Yeah.
think the kids are going to be your friends? Every single one of her grandchildren friended
Wow.
friended her so they could follow each other. It was great. It follow each other on Facebook. So, they became mentors in their 80s. They became mentors for
Wow.
youth at a youth
Yeah.
organization. Just thought it would be cool and it would keep them young. So I I had
Wow.
good role models to remain a life learner.
Wow. Wow. So you see, your story is so strong enough to inspire a lifelong learner out of every person. And I have to say congratulations for being a lifelong learner.
Thank you.
And here is the point where I like you to tell us, when did you become very intentional? Because you talked about going back to school, getting your degree, and going back full time. Yeah.
Oh,
So when did you find out that? When did you find out that?
that is what an insightful question. Thank you. So, I don't know that I was always intentional. I mean, I always had a plan. When my little
Yeah.
brother was born, I wanted to be a veterinarian, an animal doctor, from I think the time I could talk. But then my little brother came along. I was 13 years old, and I realized that I was still willing to be the voice of the underdog, so to speak. But
Yeah.
special needs children needed me just as much, and so that's where I changed my whole field. But I was in retail. It wasn't so much to be a teacher. So when I had my son, and here I was, a single mom. So like I said, college
Yeah.
was a goal, but I was a single mom, and I realized that I loved retail. I loved being a buyer. I loved going to New York. I loved buying for the stores, but the hours were crazy and my son was getting neglected. And I didn't want nannies and I didn't want babysitters. I wanted it to be me. I didn't mind babysitters, but I had them. It was my responsibility. And I was president of the parents' organization for his daycare. And so
Wow.
that woman convinced me. She said, you're so good with the kids and you're so good with the parents and you're so good at bringing people together. You should go back to school and be a teacher. So I did. That's what I did. And
Wow.
that was the intention right there. The intention was to go back and and the other thing that inspired me was I had to go interview when he was entering elementary school, and I was upset by what I watched in the classroom. I was upset by the principal and the teachers, and I thought, well, you know what? If I'm going to critique it, I might as well do it. And so that's what I did, and I went back to be a teacher because I didn't like what I saw, and I thought that being a teacher was more than bossing kids around. Bossing kids around don't teach them anything but how to be bossed around. And so I worked really hard to make sure, I started teaching middle school when I first started being a teacher. And that's a difficult age, 12 through, 14 is not easy.
Yeah.
But I worked very hard
Yeah.
to teach my children, before I taught them anything else, that I really enjoyed being with them. Even when I didn't
Wow.
like what they were doing, I still loved them. And how were we going to make that relationship work? And so, the more I taught, the better I got. Believe me, I struggled just like all new teachers do. I wasn't always great. I did lose my temper.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Wow.
then I had them teach me. We did classroom meetings with my
Wow.
graders. And I said to them, this has to be a give and take. I don't like being this who I am, and I don't like the way you are. How do we make this work? And they said, well, one thing is you're too nice to us. And I thought, really? Because no one ever in my whole life ever told me I was too nice. Ever.
Wow.
To them, be careful what you wish for. And so that's when I let them say my initial temper. I said, okay, we don't like that you. I go, all right, well, then what are you going to do to make this me go away? And we came up with a pact, and it all tied in history and the Pilgrims and the Mayflower, and a pact of how people get along so that they're all heard. And that they took that pact with them through school. And I taught in middle school, high school. And when they became high schoolers, and they even became seniors, and I was still there, they would come down. I would have them come down and visit my classroom and teach those students.
Wow.
It was great to watch them mentor those kids.
Wow.
And then I realized, they were still struggling with reading. How could I help that? So I left and I went into the elementary schools. And then I started teaching elementary school, and new teachers were struggling. This is the heart of the inner city in Philadelphia. And Philadelphia started a new program of coaching brand new teachers. And I took the test, and I was one of the first new teacher coaches in Philadelphia. So I was going into all different schools. And again, principals were not supportive. Some of them were great, some of them were awful. And I went back and I got my certification to become an administrator, so that I could be a principal that would support my teachers, so that when the district and the world said no, I could help them get past that. I was never the wall. I helped them break through the wall. And then there was an opportunity, not all high schoolers are going to go to college, and college isn't for everyone, and yet you can still be successful. And Pennsylvania has a marvelous career technology program. And I went back to school in my 40s at this point and got my directorship for career technology, so I could help my high schoolers get mentorships where they would be professional and get certification, and they didn't have to flub around in college when we knew that that wasn't for them anyway, and they could still be successful. So, and then I retired because we were moving to Florida to be with our grandchildren, and I tutor. Here, I'm in the classroom 2 to 3 days a week, and I mentor low-income students here in Florida, where I live. My first mentee graduated high school. She's now in college, and I just met my first new mentee that is in 6th grade, and I'll be her mentor all through high school and get her into college as well. So I have stayed active in education, and I have stayed active with the because you know what? I love being with them. They make me think differently. They challenge me. They make me feel young. And I love being able to compete with them in sports, in technology. If I don't know something, they teach me, and they don't know something, I get to teach them. I had to learn how to do the financial aid package. It was awful. It was worse than getting a filling. And I get to do it again in a couple of years. So so that has been intentional. Education for me is totally driven. My goal, and my husband and I are working toward this, is to make, I would like to start a foundation in my little brother's name to help children struggling in education, to help either with grants for special needs support or grants for college. And so that's my goal. That's my intentional goal, that I would like to start a foundation financially. That's, we're retired. So, but that's my goal, to continue to intentionally help whoever I can in education education be successful. It's very important. Our children are children that cannot read and cannot think, cannot survive in the world we live in today. They just can't. They don't know the news. They have opinions that are not honest opinions. They're forced opinions. They're being influenced by current events, and it hurts my heart. So, that's where my heart is, education.
Wow. Author Lynne, it's so amazing to have a fine mind like you on this podcast. Wow, I'm thrilled. Awesome. I'm so thrilled. Wow. Well, at this point, I like you to tell us about your books and how we can find your books and how we can get to meet you, your social media handle, your platforms where you're mostly active. How do we get to meet you and how do we get to read your books? Tell us about that.
So both my books are on Amazon. So the first book, the memoir, is called Listen to Me: How My Down Syndrome Brothers Saved My Life. And the children's book is on sale right now for $4.99. The ebook is on sale for $4.99. It's called My Sister Wants an Elephant. It's a true story. My daughter wanted an elephant, my son wanted a llama, and I wanted a Siberian tiger. So both books, the memoir is only $4.99 in paperback. It's $2.99 as an ebook. And like I said, the children's book as an ebook is on Amazon. Very easy to find. My Sister Wants an Elephant by Lynne Podrat. And right now it's on sale. I'm going to leave it on sale through Christmas, all in color. And you get to meet my children. That's a surprise. And and that's the other thing, helping animals. Remember, that was my first goal, is and help animals in the wild through an international fund. So education of people for animals and people for people. I am on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Goodreads. My website is lynnepodrat.com. So you can find me everywhere. I don't know if you want me to share my handles. I mean, that's a lot on a podcast. But
wow. So it seems you're always people oriented. Wow. So amazing. Author Lynne, I feel so honored to have you on this particular episode. And we are a book family. We are the ultimate podcast that is designed to help readers and authors forge the rapport to help the book win. So I'm so thrilled to have you on this podcast. But before you go, we have this point on this podcast where every author, every creative on this show have to call out the names of 10 books they've read, 10 books that probably stayed with them. So I don't know. Would you take this challenge?
10 books. So let's see. My first book is called, ready?
Yeah, go on. One.
A Happy Guide. This is not in order. It's A Short Guide to a Happy Life by Anna Quinlan. The next book is called A Column of Fire by Ken Follett.
2.
The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by David Fickling Books.
3.
Now, some of these are children's books. The Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White.
4.
All right. Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte.
5.
The Secret History of Witches by Louisa Morgan. And that's a series of 3 books, and it's on AMC Plus. It was made into
Wow. I don't know because being an educator, I know you will pass a room full of books. Wow.
Wait, so am I done yet?
Yeah, you're done. When you're calling.
Oh, I did it. Okay, I did it.
Series. I know you're a room full of books. I
have a bookcase in my second bedroom, and I have 2 bookcases out in my garage. And when I go through, I'm constantly donating books to the library. When I'm done.
Wow.
Are you still? So yeah, yeah. I lost you.
If
Okay, so you're breaking up at the.
it therefore means that you are the greatest empower.
I've lost you. Are you there? So are you still there? Hello? Hello? I've lost you.